You guys really want to know about real flying saucers, huh? The kind of stuff humans actually tried to build?
Yeah.
Okay, well, get this. The quest to build them started way back in Nazi Germany.
Oh, yeah.
You sent over this crazy documentary that dives into the whole thing.
Okay.
And it turns out those guys were totally obsessed with super weapons. Flying saucers definitely included.
Oh, for sure.
So buckle up, folks. We're going from like Cold War paranoia all the way to possible links to the stealth fighter, like the one we know today.
Yeah, it's true. They, as Germany was facing defeat in World War II, they were desperate for like any advantage they could get.
Right.
That's where this guy, Victor Schauberger, comes in.
Okay.
An inventor who'd pitched his saucer designs.
Wait, so this wasn't just some like fringe idea. He was actually dealing with Hitler's inner circle.
He was actually, he even joined the SS.
Wow.
And his idea is, while they were unconventional, they were taken seriously by the Nazis.
Yeah.
He believed he could create what he called a vortex-based propulsion system.
A what?
A vortex-based propulsion system.
Okay.
So imagine this, a mini tornado inside the saucer.
What?
Creating both lift and thrust.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a completely different way of flying than anything that we use today.
Yeah.
Like airplanes, helicopters, all that stuff.
Totally different.
Yeah. Wow.
And the documentary suggests that prototypes may have been tested at 3 secret facilities.
3.
Yeah. Peenemünde, Breslau, and Prague.
Hold on. So there might be actual Nazi flying saucers just like gathering dust somewhere.
It's possible.
Like in a forgotten hangar.
I mean, we don't have like concrete proof.
Right.
But there are sketches and photos of early prototypes that look incredibly similar to later UFO sightings.
So you're telling me some of those grainy photos from like the 50s could be misidentified Nazi tech?
It's a real possibility, yeah.
Wow.
And remember, Germany was ahead of its time in aviation. They already had the V-1 flying bombs.
Oh, right.
Which were incredibly advanced for their time.
Yeah. So picture this World War II ends.
Right.
And both the U.S. and the Soviet Union are scrambling to get their hands on all this advanced German tech.
Oh, yeah. It's like a scene straight out of a spy movie.
Totally.
There was a race to capture German scientists and their research. And while everyone was focused on the nuclear arms race,
right,
a secret race for saucer supremacy was also happening.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And this was all happening just as UFO sightings started making headlines.
Precisely think about Kenneth Arnold's sighting in 1947.
Right over Mount Rainier.
Yeah. He described 9 disc-shaped objects flying super fast.
Right, and that's what, like, popularized the term flying saucer.
Exactly.
That's the sighting that, like, really kicked off the whole flying saucer craze.
Exactly, and it happened during the height of Cold War paranoia.
Oh, yeah.
People were on edge. Anything unusual in the sky could be interpreted as a Soviet threat.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or even aliens.
So any weird object in the sky was instantly suspicious.
Pretty much.
And the military's denials probably didn't help much.
No, they were quick to dismiss UFOs as weather balloons.
Right.
Or misidentified aircraft.
Yeah.
But behind closed doors, I bet they were pretty worried.
Oh, totally.
They must have been trying to figure out if these things were real.
Right.
And who was building them.
Yeah. And then, of course, Roswell happened.
Roswell.
That same year, 1947.
Yeah, Roswell's like the ultimate UFO conspiracy theory.
Oh, for sure.
Initially, there were reports that flying saucer remains had been recovered in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But the military quickly claimed it was just a weather balloon. But, their cover-up just made everything way more suspicious.
It's like a classic example of how secrecy can backfire.
Totally.
Instead of calming people down, it just makes them more suspicious.
Exactly. Yeah. What's interesting is that the documentary suggests the U.S. was particularly worried about the Soviets.
Okay.
Remember the Horton 229?
Vaguely.
That German aircraft that looked a lot like those early saucer descriptions.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe they thought the Roswell debris was from a Soviet Horton 229.
That had crashed.
Yeah. It's possible the Cold War fueled all sorts of paranoia.
Right, and don't forget, UFOs were a huge part of pop culture in the 1950s.
Oh, yeah.
They became a symbol of our fears about communism and nuclear war.
Absolutely. Those saucer shapes on the big screen were tapping into some very real anxieties.
Oh, like that classic image of the flying saucer with the beam coming down, abducting people.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's scary.
It is.
And then there's this whole story of Project Mogul.
Oh, yeah. Project Mogul.
Tell me about that.
What was Project Mogul?
Yeah.
Turns out the Roswell debris did belong to a secret U.S. project.
Okay.
Just not the one everyone thought.
Okay.
It was from Project Mogul, which used high-altitude balloons to spy on Soviet nuclear tests.
Whoa.
So not aliens, but still top-secret Cold War spy tech.
So crazy.
Yeah, the truth only came out years later, which of course just added to the mystique of Roswell.
Right.
But let's shift gears for a minute and talk about Canada.
Okay.
They had their own secret saucer project.
They did.
Yeah, the Avrocar.
The Avrocar.
The Avrocar is a fascinating story of big ambitions, creative thinking, and ultimately unfulfilled potential.
I like it already.
Yeah.
And it all revolves around this one British engineer, John Frost.
Right.
He was obsessed with building a supersonic flying saucer.
He was, absolutely. And here's the really cool part.
Okay.
Frost believed that some UFO sightings were actually misidentified prototypes.
What?
Potentially based on those Nazi designs that we were just talking about.
Oh, wow.
He thought they could actually provide a roadmap for his own research.
So he was basically trying to reverse engineer UFO sightings.
He was, that's next level thinking.
Totally.
What did his early designs look like?
Yeah, what did they look like?
Well, his first attempt, called Project Y, was spade-shaped.
Spade-shaped?
Yeah, and it used a circular engine technology.
So not quite a saucer yet, but he's definitely on a different track than everybody else.
On a different track.
Yeah?
Yeah, but Project Y was tough to control.
I bet.
Taking off and landing vertically required serious skill from the pilot.
Right. Yeah, it's not enough to just build something that looks like a saucer.
Yeah.
It also has to fly like one.
Exactly, and that was a major concern.
Okay, so what happened next?
That brings us to the Y2 project.
Y2?
Where things got really interesting.
Okay.
Frost switched to a circular design with a central rotor powered by multiple engines.
Okay.
And get this, the Americans were so intrigued by this project that they invested $10 million in it.
$10 million?
$10 million.
Back then?
Back then, yeah.
Wow, they must have been pretty convinced.
That a supersonic flying saucer was within reach.
They thought so, yeah, but it was a risky bet.
Oh, I bet.
There was this one test where the saucer's engines spun out of control.
Oh, no.
And almost destroyed the entire lab.
Whoa, that's intense.
It was?
I'm guessing that setback had a major impact on the project.
Oh, it did, yeah.
Yeah.
Frost thought that he could fix the stability problems.
Okay.
But the Americans insisted on adding a tail.
A tail?
A tail, which created even more issues.
Bureaucracy getting in the way of innovation.
A classic tail.
What a surprise.
Yeah. So what happened to the Y2?
Yeah. Did they just scrap the whole thing?
They ended up scaling it down.
Right.
And that's how we got the Avrocar.
The Avrocar, the almost flying saucer.
The almost flying saucer. It actually did achieve vertical takeoff and landing.
Really?
Which was a big deal at the time.
I bet, but I bet it wasn't without its challenges.
Let's just say that control problems continued to be a major headache. They tried a bunch of modifications.
But the Avrocar never really lived up to its potential.
So in 1961, the dream of a Canadian flying saucer died?
Well,
or did it?
Yeah. You're right to be suspicious.
Because I have a feeling this story isn't over yet.
You're right, because now we need to talk about this guy, Jack Pickett.
Jack Pickett, okay.
A military magazine publisher.
Oh, okay.
Who claims he saw real U.S. Air Force flying saucers.
No way.
At MacDill Air Force Base in the 1960s.
Now that's the story I need to hear more about.
Okay.
What exactly did this guy see?
So he claimed he saw saucers ranging in size from 20 to 119 feet in diameter.
Wow.
Just sitting there in a restricted area of the base.
Okay, so we're not talking about some blurry, distant object here. Yeah. He's saying he saw these saucers up close.
Up close and personal, that's what he claimed.
And remember, this wasn't just some random guy off the street.
No.
Pickett had security clearance.
Right.
He was invited to the base to write an article.
Exactly.
So this wasn't just like some tall tale that he was telling at the bar. This guy had access that most people could only dream of.
Absolutely.
What happened when he tried to publish his article?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Pickett claims that when he tried to go ahead with the article, the Air Force suddenly pulled the plug.
What?
And confiscated all his photos.
Classic cover-up.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what they were so desperate to hide.
Yes, he did.
Is there any evidence to back up Pickett's story?
Well, there's this researcher named Michael Schrack.
Okay.
Who has corroborated some parts of Pickett's account.
Okay.
He's even recreated the saucer photos based on Pickett's descriptions.
So there might be visual evidence out there, even if the originals are locked away.
It's possible.
Wow. And to make things even more mysterious,
yeah,
there's another witness.
There is.
An ex-Air Force pilot named Warren Botts.
Okay.
said he saw a similar disc-shaped aircraft at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Wow.
12 years after Pickett's sighting.
Interesting.
So now we have multiple witnesses.
Yeah.
Potential photographic evidence.
Descriptions that line up.
Yeah.
This is starting to sound less like a conspiracy theory and more like a genuine mystery.
It is.
Do you think it's possible that these sightings could be connected to the F-117 Nighthawk?
The stealth fighter.
Yeah.
It's an interesting connection.
Right.
Remember how John Frost was convinced that the shape of an aircraft was key to making it invisible to radar?
He thought a circular design was the answer.
Yeah, well, a perfectly circular shape wasn't practical for a real aircraft.
Right.
But the engineers who designed the F-117 kind of borrowed that basic idea. They used a series of flat panels and sharp angles to deflect radar waves away from the aircraft, which made it practically invisible to radar.
So, in a way, the F-117 owes something to those early flying saucer experiments.
You could say that, yeah.
They took a radical concept, refined it, using the latest technology and a whole lot of brainpower.
Absolutely.
And the F-117 was developed at Area 51.
Right. A place that's practically synonymous with secrets and the unknown.
Oh, yeah.
It's not hard to imagine how people might have seen test flights and thought they were witnessing UFOs, especially back then.
Especially back then.
Right before the internet and everything.
Yeah.
It's easy to see how a strange shape zipping through the sky could be mistaken for something extraterrestrial.
For sure. And the F-117 was revolutionary.
It was.
It changed the whole game when it came to modern warfare.
Made its combat debut in the Gulf War.
Right.
And the world was stunned.
They were.
Its ability to fly undetected by radar and deliver these precision strikes was like nothing anyone had ever seen before.
It was a game changer.
I remember seeing the footage on the news.
Yeah.
It looked like a ghost.
It did.
Appearing out of nowhere.
It must have been terrifying for the enemy.
It must have been.
It proved that radar invisibility wasn't just some sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah.
It was a military reality.
But even the F-117 still needed a human pilot. What about the future of flight?
That's a great question.
What's next?
I mean, we're seeing a major shift towards unmanned aerial vehicles.
Yeah.
UAVs.
Yeah.
Or drones.
Drones. You see them everywhere these days.
You do. Yeah, delivering packages, taking aerial photos, and of course being used in warfare.
Yeah.
In a military context, they have some huge advantages.
Such as?
Well, there's no risk to a human pilot.
Right.
They can be made incredibly small.
Okay.
For like stealth missions.
Yeah.
And they can be equipped with all sorts of sensors and weapons.
So are you saying that the dream of the flying saucer?
Yeah.
That quest for a truly radical aircraft is actually being fulfilled in the form of drones.
I mean, it's definitely one possible path.
Okay.
Take the Sikorsky Aerobot, for example.
Aerobot, what's that?
It's this prototype drone that can hover at high speeds.
Okay.
And take off and land vertically.
Oh.
Kind of like those early saucer concepts we were talking about.
Oh, wow. So it's like they took inspiration from those old designs and applied it to this cutting-edge technology.
Exactly. And who knows what's going on in those top secret labs right now?
Right.
What kind of breakthroughs are they making? What other unconventional designs are they exploring?
Yeah, I know.
It makes you wonder if some of those UFO sightings that get dismissed as hoaxes or misidentifications are actually just glimpses of technology that is so advanced that we can't even comprehend it yet.
Wow, that is mind-blowing.
I know. It really is fascinating to think about, right?
It is.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From those early Nazi designs all the way to cutting-edge drone technology.
I know. It feels like we've only scratched the surface of this whole flying saucer mystery.
It is a mystery.
What started as a deep dive into, like, building these things has turned into a quest to understand how they've shaped our technology.
Yeah.
And maybe even, like, our perception of what's possible.
And it's not just about the technology itself, is it? It's also about the secrecy and misinformation.
Yeah.
That surround it.
Like all the conspiracy theories and stuff?
Yeah. You know, we've seen how government cover-ups, even if they're meant to, like, protect national security, can create this breeding ground for speculation and conspiracy theories.
Totally, yeah, like with Roswell.
Roswell, exactly.
Even though we know now that it was a weather balloon project, the fact that they kept it under wraps for so long just fueled all these wild theories that are still around today.
That are still around today. It makes you think about the balance.
It does.
Between transparency and national security.
Right.
How much should the public actually be told about these top secret projects.
Yeah, especially the ones that are like pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
It's a tough question.
It is.
There's no doubt about it.
On the one hand, I believe that people have a right to know what their governments are up to.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I understand that certain information
needs to be kept secret.
For sure.
Especially when it comes to national security and stuff.
It's a constant balancing act.
Yeah, it is.
But you know, one thing's for sure. In this age of instant information and, widespread skepticism, when governments withhold information, it just creates this vacuum that gets filled with rumors.
Right.
And sometimes, outright lies.
Yeah, the slippery slope.
It is.
Which brings us back to UFOs.
Right, back to UFOs. Do you think it's possible that some of these unexplained sightings, the ones that can't be easily dismissed, are actually glimpses of classified technology?
Ooh.
Aircraft so advanced that they just seem like something from another world.
I think it's a possibility worth considering.
Okay.
And maybe in some cases, those sightings are deliberate leaks.
Deliberate leaks? What do you mean?
A way to test public reaction.
Oh.
And see how far the boundaries of belief can be pushed.
So, it's a real-life psychological operation.
It could be.
Something straight out of a spy movie.
Exactly. And it just goes to show that when you're dealing with secret projects, advanced technology and deliberate misinformation, it can be incredibly difficult to separate fact from fiction.
So where does that leave us?
Right.
What are we supposed to believe about flying saucers and UFOs and the future of flight?
I don't think this deep dive was about finding a definitive answer.
Yeah.
It was more about encouraging a sense of curiosity and willingness to question what we think we know.
Yeah.
And, a recognition that this is a complex issue with lots of different perspectives.
I agree. It's a great reminder that there are still mysteries out there.
Oh, yeah.
Things we just don't understand. And that's okay. It's the pursuit of knowledge, even when it takes you down some strange paths.
It does.
That really matters.
Beautifully said. Maybe the next time you look up at the night sky, you'll have this new sense of wonder.
I think I will.
Because somewhere out there, hidden from view, the dream of the flying saucer might still be alive and well.
And who knows, maybe one day those secrets will come to light.
Yeah.
And all those blurry photos of unidentified objects will finally make sense. Until then, we need to keep looking up, keep asking questions.
For sure.
And never stop exploring the unknown.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
Absolutely.
Through the world of real and imagined flying saucers.
It's been a wild ride.
It has. We'll see you next time for another deep dive into...
I can't wait.
Who knows what fascinating topic you'll send our way next.
Until then, keep those minds curious.
Yes.
And those skies clear.